streets by myself.
That's the worst.
Today's public art and design meeting is called to order.
Call the recess.
Call to recess, sorry. Do I have to wrap the gavel again?
Yeah.
I'd like to call today's public art and design board meeting to order. Let's go through roll call. Will everyone like to introduce themselves? Start again, all right?
Hi, I'm Kim DeVito. I currently am at Creative Pinellas as the Digital Strategy Director, and I am here today serving on this board.
I'm Brian Valaton. I am this year's chair for now.
Jonathan Barnes, I'm a faculty member at St. Petersburg College in Visual Arts.
Greg Bird, faculty member at St. Petersburg College, creative writing.
Fantastic. Let's just jump right into approval of the minutes. Are there any changes or corrections that anybody knows of or can think of or needs to implement?
I so move.
All right.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved.
Good job.
Let's see. Citizens to be heard. Will you please come up to the microphone, state your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Beth Daniels, and I'm here on behalf of the Clearwater Arts Alliance. And I just would like to, I don't know if anything is working from the report that I sent you. Yes, no?
No, they didn't get a chance to see
Okay.
it, so
I made copies.
watch your stuff on there.
It's easy. Whoops.
Yep.
Yes, there's always the bump.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whoops.
Whoop,
I
sounds
think
good.
there's two
Here,
there.
got an extra.
Share. Yes, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway, quite a few months ago, we came before the board, and as you know, the Clearwater Arts Alliance has been very active in doing the art wrapped signal boxes around town. Almost all of those that are within the city limits have been installed by us. And we had a project that was specific to neighborhoods, where a neighborhood where there aren't many art amenities collaborated with a specific artist to design a piece for their area. and $10,500 was set aside for us to accomplish that. And I recently filed a written report saying all 6 of the boxes that, there was an artist fee paid, and then, of course, the installation fee paid. And I attached a chart showing which neighborhoods had participated in this activity, what the name of the piece is, who the artists were. We had 6 different artists, and all of those budgeted funds had been spent. And I made a little collage. Sorry that my printer cut off a little bit of it didn't realize I wanted it on 14-inch long paper. But all 6 of those boxes are now successfully installed, and we're getting wonderful comments on them. So I just wanted to report that project has been fully completed. And if there are opportunities to do more things like that, we would love to be able to do that. So, and I think Betsy's got stuff about a big 3D sculptural event we have coming up in a couple of days, so we want to tell you about that too.
Thank you.
Hi there. So, Betsy Adler with the Clearwater Arts Alliance. Wanted to let you guys know that we're doing a big celebration to celebrate the new sculptures that I hope that you have seen on Cleveland Street in downtown. There's 3 new pieces there that were installed in April. And so on Saturday, May 31st from 10 to 1, we're going to have a celebration to kind of unveil those sculptures. They have been up a while, but we're still going to celebrate that they're there. So there'll be kids' crafts, there'll be snacks and drinks, live music, that sort of thing. Hopefully 2 or 3 of the artists will be there as well to kind of celebrate their new pieces in the area. And then at 11 a.m. there'll be remarks from some city officials. So that we hope you can all attend. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, yeah, we'll drop them off. Thanks.
New business items. Item 4.1. Select and vote on final artist and design for Clearwater Marina Walk sculpture.
Good afternoon, Amber Bryce, Arts and Cultural Affairs Manager. At the last Public Art and Design Board meeting, the board had narrowed down our selection to 3 and had directed staff to return to the top 3 artists that you all had originally selected and requested an additional design concept from each of them. Of those 3, only 2 submitted additional designs back to me. And so we are asking for design selection, artist selection, and approval to move forward with the sculpture on the marina. So as you remember, this was Heath's piece, the You Are Here piece. And he had another one that didn't upload for some reason, but it was the anchor one. Does everybody remember that one? I have it here if you need to see it. Sorry, Danielle. Here we go. There was this piece, you all remember. So those were the 2, and he did not submit a 3rd design.
Okay.
The other pieces were Eileen, who I think you all kind of turned this one down but liked the other one, the floaty totem. And then her additional design she sent in was this called Slow Dance.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I think it would be between those 2 pieces from what you all directed last time. I just wanted everybody to be able to see all of them. Then the additional, so then we had Cecilia. I don't think you all liked this one as much as you liked the original one that she sent in, which is somewhere. But these are the 2 additional ones she sent. So Paradise and Sun, Dancing Sun. They're similar, but a little bit different.
Is there a way to zoom out?
This was the
just
other
to-
original
okay.
one,
Okay.
which I can show.
Can you zoom out of that, Amber, and so we can see the whole piece, or?
Yes, probably. So this was the original design that I
Yeah.
think you all liked the best. I'm sorry. And then you asked for an additional design. So this would be the original one. These would be the newer ones. That one, there's that one. There's floating totem, which is made up of mosaic, so this would be a mosaic, and so would her other new piece. Would also be a mosaic. So, discussion, thoughts?
When I was looking, reviewing all the files that you sent, I was looking at Eileen's earlier work that she had done. It was in there someplace.
I think I had just shown you all the previous work to give you an idea of what her mosaics look like.
Right.
I
What
didn't
I-
add them into this time.
Yeah, what I was noticing, though, and maybe this is going backwards too much, what I was noticing is that some of her earlier mosaics seemed to have more of an organic feel to them. One of them almost looked like I don't know, like a stone that had been fractured
Yeah.
and opened up. And none of the designs that she submitted seemed to have any of that real kind of organic sense.
Okay.
So, I don't really know what to
I
do.
mean, that's probably going backwards too
Yeah.
far.
Well, the
at this
direction,
point.
I mean, I think the direction initially was this is going to be a highly visible spot.
Right.
It's going to be on the marina. There's going to be boats in the background that are, you know, not yachts. Some of them are kind of kitschy with the shark head and
Sure.
you know, the pirate ship and things like that. So they were, they had been given the direction to be a little more fun and not so serious.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where that comes from.
These definitely hit the fun mark. I think last time I wasn't a super fan of this one, but it's kind of grown on me since
grown on
last
you.
time I've seen it. I actually don't even mind the starfish design either. I think the only thing that I would recommend on that is just, it feels a little top heavy, so maybe one of the starfish, the top starfish gets smaller just so it comes to more of a point and less of less top heavy. So, but
But I like the buoys.
I like the
Those
buoys
are
too. Yeah,
Of the group, those are my favorite.
I think I'm leaning that way as well.
So you're leaning between either of Eileen's pieces. Is that what we're saying?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the floaty totem was kind of, it has a good vibe too for photos and the scale. Seems
11
fine.
feet is the proposed size. To you all. So I'll just exit out
So the
of this one.
surface is done in mosaic, so what is the core of it made out of?
That is
Concrete
a
or
great
something?
Probably
question. So it says steel embedded for
Mm.
structural support. Pick points, I'm guessing that means pinpoints. Acrylic cement with fiberglass reinforcement. And then high fire glazed porcelain glass and stone mosaic. Adhere to a thin set cement.
Yeah, that should be super durable. You know, like no maintenance issues, maybe spray it down with bleach or something. to
Right.
Bleach any grout, but
I'm assuming
You know, I
this would
worry
be for
about-
both of them.
yeah, some of the other ones that are like the painted metal or powder coated metal, as we've seen on some of the other public art pieces, like the one at the East Lake Library, the surface gets kind of chalky after a while, but a high fire ceramic tile does not do that. So
Yeah.
from a durability standpoint, you know, that one gets my vote.
Yeah. Mine as well.
So would you like floaty totem?
Floaty totem.
Or would
Floaty
you
totem.
like,
I also really like the name.
Slow
It's
dance.
funny. Makes me laugh. You want to vote on it?
Yeah, let's take a vote on slow dance or floaty totem. So all in favor for floaty totem.
okay, so someone has to make a motion.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion that we vote for Floaty Totem.
I second that motion.
So we have,
You gotta say all in favor.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so we're going with Eileen Gay Floaty Totem. Yay, all right.
Floaty Totem wins the
Floaty
prize.
Totem. And it is cute, and I do think you're right, like with the
It's
sea
fun.
spray and the sand and the sun, it's gonna be the most durable, so. And
What is, are there, I was, when I was looking at this, I was also thinking that something like this would make a, a neat T-shirt or something like that, Clearwater, whatever. What are the licensing
Yeah, usually in the
situations?
agreements, there's like a caveat of, like, we own the piece, but we don't own, and we can use it to photograph, like, to promote the city or promote the beach, but we can't reproduce it to make money off of like a T-shirt or
Yeah.
something like that. So that would be the artist would have the right to do that.
So if there was somebody, a vendor who wanted to set something up like that up, they could talk to the artist and
Yes.
work that out?
Yeah, they'd have to have their own contract. And we could put that into the contract, but most artists don't agree to that usually, so,
Like the manhole covers in St. Pete.
yeah.
They have the pelican, and they did like T-shirts and stuff.
Item 4.2, discuss completion of Coachman murals and social media recognition.
Right. So the final Coachman Park mural wall was completed in January by Jenna Morello, who titled her piece Views. It's a really great addition to the park. With this, all of the mural walls that were dedicated to public artwork are now complete. Show that one. And these are intended to be rotated every 3 years, so the first opportunity to put a new mural on these walls would be October 2026. So for Coachman, this pretty much buttons up all of the murals except for the one that we are going to put on the back of the Baycare Sound, which has been put on hold for a little while, but that's the last one. And, I wanted to mention that Visit Clearwater St. Pete did some really great posts on their social media about Coachman Park and all the murals, and it got a lot of likes and shares, and it was really nice of them to do that, and I think it really promoted the murals that we have going on in Coachman Park.
Item 4.3, world's largest rubber duck exhibit discussion.
All right. So, since Coachman Park has opened, I've been exploring ideas for rotating exhibits that would engage visitors and offer photo opportunities and bring some economic development downtown Clearwater. Something I've been interested in since I got this position was the world's largest rubber duck. And this year it seems a little more feasible than before. We're currently in discussions with a sponsor to help fund the exhibit, and ideally we would host it November 2025. Nothing is finalized yet, but I would love to hear the board's thoughts on an exhibit like this, and also the idea of having rotating exhibits in Coachman Park as opposed to a large iconic art piece, which has kind of been the route that we've been thinking about for the future, but maybe the pros and cons of each and what you all feel how we should go moving forward with Coachman Park.
Any discussion, y'all?
I certainly like the idea of the rotating major exhibit, because it'll give people a reason to come back. And if somebody's not interested in one thing, they might come back for the other. And this, of course, you got the Jeep people.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of Kevin.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if there's a way of,
We had a colleague that painted rubber ducks and passed away earlier this year, but anyways. Yeah, it's fun. I agree, it would keep people coming back. you
Yeah.
know.
Same, I like the idea of it rotating.
My only question is, what happens, so when it rotates out, where does it go next? And I guess my short question is, how do you minimize waste? Like, so where does it go next? What do you do with it afterwards?
For us or for them?
For just in general, like, so when it rotates out and we get a new thing, like, where does this thing go, right? Like,
I mean, they have a schedule, so
Okay.
It's on.
I want to
tour.
say it's like in,
So it'd be-
it's up
okay.
north somewhere right now.
Okay.
But they have a schedule and they
Okay.
transport it and they do all of that.
So will everything that we rotate in and out be on a similar type of a schedule? It's coming-
Yes.
So, okay, it won't be a one and done and it goes in a trash pile?
No,
somewhere?
no, no.
Okay.
This is actually an art
Okay.
piece and it was created by, I think it's a Dutch artist, but he's like, this is an actual art exhibit, so it
Cool.
gets rotated around the world.
Dig it. Yeah, I love it.
So the duck, I forget her name, but it's a she. She's been to Hong Kong,
Oh, wow.
China, Canada, Detroit,
That's fun.
California, everywhere, so.
Are there, I don't know a lot about work like this, so I guess there's a bunch of people that make work of that kind of scale that's portable and moves around and, like, I guess, tours the world, that we could run a series of exhibits.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's elephants that
Okay.
people make. There's the Dambo trolls that maybe you guys are familiar with, but they have they're these giant trolls that are made out of like reclaimed wood and,
Okay.
but they're usually
Yep.
hidden in parks and different things.
Yeah,
But they
there's
do have a
one-
rotating exhibit.
Yeah, there's one in Miami. in
Yes.
Woodwood.
Yeah, so there's
Okay.
options. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Are there any teaching materials that are involved with this? I can kind of see how this might, for local schools, there's an opportunity for, to do some geography stuff and some cultural stuff, and if we could provide, or if the artist could provide information like that to some of the Pinellas County schools, it might give students a reason to come out, or field trips, or different things like that.
Okay, yeah, we would definitely promote it. I didn't think about the schools, but we could promote it in the schools.
Or maybe like a
The-
lecture at the Sound or something like that.
Yeah, well, they have their own requirements where they require a table, and I think they have information that they pass out, and they do things like that.
Especially if it was far enough ahead of time. You
Right.
can mention that to, I don't know what levels, but, certainly elementary schools, certainly, any of the art magnet schools. And
Yeah, and I had talked to the sponsor about potentially doing some sort of fundraising. So I don't know if you guys have seen like the rubber duck races that they do, where everybody purchases a duck for $20, and then there's a number on the bottom, and if your duck wins, you win a prize, but it all goes to charity. Like maybe tying that in somehow, but it would be their event, so it's kind of their deal. I'm just the art exhibit, so
Right.
we'll see. But I'll mention that, and we'll look into
do they
it.
have their own website for the duck?
They do. I think it's
Giant rubber duck.
like, yeah, bigduck.com or something
Oh.
like that, yeah.
Actually,
Spot on, brother.
that's cool. There's this museum down in Miami called Super Blue, and also the Balloon Museum. And the Balloon Museum is like a giant warehouse, and it's all inflatable sculptures. So there might be, maybe they have stuff that they loan out, or some of those artists have pieces that go on tour.
Okay.
Might be a good resource for future exhibits.
Okay.
I love that. You ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on, yeah.
Item 4.4, grad chalk walk.
So the Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency, in conjunction with the Downtown Development Board, has commissioned 7 professional mural and chalk artists to create 12 designs for local high schools that are holding their graduation at the Bay Care Sound. Each school will have a custom chalk art design reflecting their school's colors, mascots, school name, and then there'll be 2 3D end cap designs for students to pose with for photos. These temporary murals, weather permitting, will be on display from Wednesday, May 28th through Sunday, June 1st. And I think I put in an example of just kind of what the 3D can look like. So it'll have kind of an interactive thing where they can, I think one has a diploma where they could be holding it up and
That's
things like that, or
That's
sit on
cool.
it. So it'll be an interesting thing. It'll be along Cleveland Street, 400 and 500 block.
Nice.
And have we already reached out to artists for that, or? what?
Yeah, they did an open call, the
Okay.
CRA did an open call, and they had a panel, and so we narrowed it down to 7 artists.
Fantastic.
And I assume the graduates of those high schools have been,
They've been notified to come
Notified.
find their school, yeah. And like tag it and do all the things, like,
Fun.
yes.
I like that.
Item 4.5, discuss Fire Station 47 mural collaboration with Clearwater High School.
So the new Fire Station 47 has completed construction at its new location. This is the one formerly on Lakeview Road. It's now at 601 South Hercules Avenue, right across the street from Clearwater High School. The fire department had expressed interest in featuring a rotating mural created by Clearwater High School students. So after connecting with the principal and their art faculty, there's an art teacher named Ms. Hoffman who's been very helpful. She's going to select 6 of her most promising students who will team up in pairs of 2, and they will paint a 6x3 piece of plywood, but then collaborate together to make it a triptych mural. So 1 cohesive design, 3 separate boards, 6 student artists. And we will display that, we will frame it, display it for 1 year with the potential to hopefully rotate it every year. But there's also a permanent piece potential if, we don't have enough students that are interested after a while or something like that. But it's really, I think it's a really great way to give students a chance to really display their art publicly, see what that means, do some community outreach, so we're excited about that.
that's really nice to make that connection rather than just, here's a new fire department
Yeah.
station going up right from across from your school, and they're just doing their own thing. It
Right.
just makes them more connected.
That's cool.
It's cool.
And Miss Hoffman's doing good work.
I don't know
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
Okay.
She's great.
Cool.
Really good teacher.
Good.
I get a lot of her students, so
Oh, good.
good kid, they're good kids.
Okay, guys, 4.6, we need to elect officers.
So this is our first meeting of 2025, so the board will need to select a new chair and vice chair for the remainder of the year. Kimberly DeVito is representing Creative Pinellas. Her term is complete, but she's asked to renew her seat, so she will be reinstated. But Ms. Bills and Mr. Seiler, their terms have both expired. They will not be seeking renewal. Mrs. Minot is still on the board, but she's not here, so I'm assuming chair and vice chair will be between the 4 of you guys, so.
I would like to nominate Brian Volaton to be our chair. He does a good job.
Get more practice. More practice.
I second that.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then how about a vice chair?
Vice chair.
So you would run the meetings in Brian's stead if he was not here.
Yeah,
All right,
I'll
I'll
be happy to.
nominate Dr. Bird.
Is that something you would like to do?
No,
Do you want to do
no.
it? I'm sorry.
I was thinking I might
Do you
split the
wanna do it?
difference and nominate Kimberly over here.
Yeah, go for it.
But can I do it? Can I nominate
Okay.
Kimberly?
My issue is, like, I know I can do it,
In the summer.
in the summer, I will basically have to cancel 2 classes.
Oh, well then
And
let's,
as long as I know far enough ahead of time, that's okay, but it'd be better if I didn't.
I don't know.
Cool, yeah. I'll do it.
So there's one meeting in July and one meeting in October. I think it was the 10th and, July 10th and October 9th, I believe. So those are the only 2 meetings we have for the rest of the year unless something comes up and we do a special meeting in December. But
Do we have to make a motion to nominate?
If Kimberly can make it
I'll
all the
nominate
time, it
Kimberly.
would work better.
How about that?
Is there a second?
So I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Brian is the chair, Kimberly is the vice chair.
Fantastic.
Nice.
So we got a little bit of old business. 5.1, discuss installation of smart plaques. Smart plaques.
So we had previously discussed the installation of smart plaques for all public art throughout the city. I gave this project to my assistant, hoping it would be done when I came back from maternity leave, but My assistant resigned, so the plaques are not all installed. I've been installing them slowly but surely. And we've had a little bit of setbacks with the murals that are on private property. I need to get permission from the property owners to put them up. So that's just taking a little longer, but I think there's about 17 that are up. And they're in the maps with pixel sticks, and then we're gonna integrate them into our GIS map. And there is a separate web page for each individual art piece that is going to go live on our arts and culture page soon. They are live. If you scan the plaques, it'll bring you to it, but there's just no place on our web page to go to all of them right now.
Cool. 5.2, discuss the Mercado art installation and community event.
So the public artwork at the Mercado, located at 1384 Gulf to Bay Boulevard in downtown Clearwater, has been completed by artist Christina Salas in partnership with Unimex, local businesses, the CRA, and the community. They did an unveiling / block party on April 6th. It was featuring live music, arts, food vendors, and kind of unveiled the art, and the event was very well attended. The community's response to the artwork has been positive. We're looking into kind of sealing this piece, the painted parts, and then around the planter beds, kind of adding some caulk in the top to like kind of finish it all off. But this is the biggest mosaic piece that's there. The planter beds are wrapped and then have a piece of fruit in them.
What was the address again?
It is 1384 Gulf to Bay Boulevard. So if you go up Cleveland Street, it's where Cleveland and Gulf to Bay fork. It's right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
It's nice to have those sun sail awnings.
Oh, is that
over
what,
it.
it's
Yeah.
right there? Oh, okay, yes, I know exactly where that is now. I think that's a beautiful space.
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
it's much nicer now. It's easier to drive through.
What's the community event part?
That was
Oh, that was the one that
the one on April
the one.
6th that they
right,
did, yeah.
Okay.
And it is a park, like all of our other parks, where the community can actually reserve to use it as a space.
cool.
Yeah. Guess I'll just stay up here.
Yeah, you have item number 6, director's report.
We don't really have much, except that we are obviously seeking 2 new board members. You have to be a Clearwater resident, not necessarily involved in anything with arts, but it's preferred that you have some sort of love, interest in art, or background in art. And then just wanted to let you all know, I had a conversation today with my supervisor about potentially getting some quotes for appraisers for the art pieces that we have in the city to build a more robust data collection set for everything and having everything appraised for insurance purposes and things like that. So that's something we're looking into right now.
For the, any possible new members, how do I suggest that they apply, or what's the process?
So if you go, even if you just Google City of Clearwater Public Art and Design Board, there should be a link of how to apply. And I think on our website, it's apply for a board seat. And you can click on that, and it'll tell you all the seats that are available on all of the boards in the city. And then it does have to be, the appointee does have to be appointed by the city council.
Item number 7, are there any board members to be heard? You have anything going on, some more input about our meeting today that you'd like to provide?
Not at this moment, no.
I had a couple things.
Yes, sir.
One is, when we were talking about the high school kids being involved with the fire station, I was also wondering if there were, I don't know if there's a way of doing this, but if there would be any interest from the local high school students who were into art in at least seeing this process And I don't know, maybe at some point connecting with Clearwater Arts Alliance. So I kind of wonder about them, especially the ones that are involved with the fire station thing, wondering how does all this happen? What goes on when a piece is pitched and accepted and things like that. And then, some of the, I'm wondering if they would be imagining what the discussions that we have would be, because think about, what's his name, the other sculptor for the one that you are here? Blank. Heath Sato,
Yes.
yeah. The reasons that we didn't accept his sculpture had nothing to do with how well they were done or the insight or the design. We just decided that something different was what appealed to us. And I can imagine artists saying, oh, they didn't like my work, but it really doesn't have anything. It just wasn't the right fit for what we're doing here. And I thought it might be interesting if there was a way of bringing in Clearwater high school students to kind of at least see this at some point.
Yeah, it might be good to invite Ms. Hoffman and, I can't remember what the other art teacher at Clearwater High's name is.
I wasn't introduced to her, so I don't know.
I could picture him, I just can't remember his name. To one of these meetings, if they're available, so that they could see the process too, and maybe bring it back to their students. Because I brought some of the proposals for the PTSA sculpture piece, or whatever, the bus station sculpture piece, and showed it to my design students and said, like, here's all the work that goes into these public art pieces. Like, you might not like what ends up getting made, right? But, here's the proposal, and they had to have engineered drawings and like wind load and all this other stuff. And like, we talked about durability of materials and schedule, and like, the budget sounds really big, it's $200,000 or whatever, which sounds like a lot of money, but not when 150 of it is on fabrication and $50,000 is getting it from wherever it's coming from to get here, and then coordinating with the city and the lighting designer so it all like works and whatever. They don't have a clue. Most of us don't have a clue about how to do that, which is why that one person ends up with so many public commissions. But, I showed that with my students. They were blown away.
Mm-hmm. And that's also a nice connection with connecting students to government.
Right,
as
and
well.
also the written component of it, because it ties it into like creative writing and composition, and like how important it is to have the formatting and all your documents correct, and deadlines.
Can I ask, does Creative Pinellas do any kind of workshops for artists kind of touching on this?
No, we just actually started a series actually last night called Mind Your Business for artists. But this is an interesting proposal of, we're going into the arts world actually next month in June. I want to say the 21st, and it's actually going to be at Florida-Rama, and it's about talking to collectors and to how to get into galleries, but not necessarily, we don't have one scheduled about public art, so I'll
That would be interesting,
that
and
out
maybe
there.
work together as a collaboration with, SPC and Creative Pinellas and City of Clearwater. I know some counties and some bigger cities do workshops for artists, and I do think it is helpful, especially for your local artists, to understand maybe why one person's getting picked over another. And a lot of it is, like you're saying, it's the proposal's way more outlined and all the details. So I think that's something we could talk about in the future for sure.
And also the interview component of that too, because we always meet with the artists, it's usually over Zoom or whatever. But being able to present your work and talk professionally about it and have all those answers, to every possible question that comes up.
Yeah.
I have a question about, you just reminded me about the process of even applying. So when you send out call to artists, I sometimes run into artists that don't have a lot of tech savvy still, right? So one, they may not be getting the calls, or if they do, they have some trepidation about the application process. Are there resources for helping them through that process if they do get to the point of the application, or how does that process work? Or how do you compensate for that?
I mean, I don't know of any resources that are that detailed, but I will say you can tell usually the artists that have a lot more public art experience than those that don't because of things like that. Their resume and the cover letters and the design concepts, even, the imagination and where it came from and all of this stuff that is trying to tie back stuff with the city and things like that.
Right.
A lot of newer artists or people that are not as tech savvy usually don't upload, or they upload a Word document, not a PDF, things like those little small things, but they stand out sometimes to professionals, so.
So it's not really a way to make them aware.
Well, I think like this potential workshop type thing would be a very good way to do that.
There was an organization in St. Pete that was doing some workshops, but I don't remember if it was right before COVID. It was like Green Treehouse or something. Greenhouse, yeah.
They still exist. They still do for artists as well. More so on the business side. I haven't seen one recently for public
Yeah,
art
I haven't seen
specific.
much.
Yeah, because I think MGA sculpture.
Yeah, they kind of hold the
Yeah, and I think
they're the
I
powerhouse in
Mhm.
public commissions, I think.
and has done help for artists of
Yeah.
how to do it as well. But
Yes.
it would be a cool collaboration that we could pull together.
Right.
In the creative writing world, there are often contests for books by first authors who've never published a book before. I wonder if would be something we would want to do. Have if we had a particular commission at a particular place, if we would want to, try to reach out and have it for somebody who had never won a commission and never had a major piece of art.
I'm wanting to do like a, like Reggae Rise Up, anybody go to that? That they
Yeah.
have those kind of walls that are just made for the festival, and then they bring in artists that,
Yeah.
I would love to do something like that in the park where it's, temporary, it's only up for maybe a month, but allowing emerging artists or maybe student artists or artists that have never been given the opportunity to do public art, an opportunity to do that. So then they could
Yeah,
kind of see the city process, but then also, it's not life or death because it's just a temporary piece and,
Right, because it's hard to break into these things if you don't have a portfolio
Right.
of established pieces. So I've been able to do this at St. Pete College, where we've gotten money from student government to hire students to do murals on our building. And the students got paid, we covered the cost of the materials, but then in the end, they have a finished mural to put into their portfolio. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, now you can apply to, whatever, Shine Festival or the one at Clearwater. So a gateway for emerging artists or less established artists to
Yeah.
break into that public arts sector would be kind of cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would there be a way we could tie that to kind of a mentorship possibility with one of the other artists that we've already worked with or we might work with in the future?
Creative Pinellas used to do a lot of that, right, with their.
Yeah,
emerging
I
artists.
did that with a
Yeah.
writer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually being reimagined as well, to give a more broader reach too. So that's something too I'll take back and,
I mean, if that could be part maybe of a commission in the future
Right.
from a professional artist
right.
who, say as part of this, you will be working and could lay it out, you meet 3 times or whatever as a minimum.
Yeah,
That could be a
that's-
really neat sort of thing.
Yeah, like part of it would be you're commissioned to also have a mentor, to be a mentor to a up and coming, and they get like this section of the wall or something like that. I think that's a really good idea. I'm not, I think it just depends on the artist. Some artists are gonna go for it and some are not, so I think it would just be maybe its own separate program. we
Yeah,
could
if that
look
was just
into.
one, just make that one of the commissions out of many.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
But, I mean, maybe even, Amber, your suggestion of like temporary walls or temporary murals, I mean, the walls could maybe be permanent and they get painted over every couple of months. Like these ones that are out here, and they're set. But if we had others,
You're right.
I mean, they could be here in the park too. I don't know how much it costs to cast a concrete wall.
Yeah.
Probably 20 times more than I would expect it to be, but
It is a big thing though, because it's,
the wall
how do you
eventually gets bigger.
practice? If you're trying to become a muralist or like, how do you practice, right? And before someone trust you with
Yeah.
thousands of dollars to do a job, right? How do you build a portfolio? So that's
Right.
always been conversations I've had with younger or just new artists as well that want to break into doing.
Like the other thing we
Murals?
don't have is we don't have public graffiti spaces.
Right.
In any of the cities in Pinellas County.
Mhm.
There's other areas in the country where they have walls that people can go and write on or whatever, do murals on, and they're temporary. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know that if I go in there and like do my thing, like on the side of the train or whatever,
It's
it's
gonna
gonna
be
go
painted.
away. Yeah,
Right.
and that's fine.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
that's the point. Yeah. Yeah, I think the
Like an
couple
artist
of
training space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
education,
that.
education and membership and mentorship is what I wrote down on my notes, because I think that's the next step, right? As far as growing up new artists and keeping fresh work coming in, is making sure that it's hitting all the artists and they have the resources to be able to keep doing their thing, so.
Is there a plan for this year to do another festival in Clearwater?
Mural Festival. I am going to create, after this chalk art thing is over this weekend, create a proposal for the North Greenwood CRA for a mural festival there. So I already have one business that's reached out and wants to participate. There's a lot of city buildings that are within the North Greenwood CRA. It's more of a neighborhood. It doesn't have as many businesses, but there's a lot of potential to even do city buildings. So it is my goal to do it in the fall of this year,
Okay.
Cool.
but we'll see.
One thing I wanted to mention is, in other cities I've visited, I've seen murals that make more use of Trump oil, and I was wondering if that was something we wanted to try to encourage in the future.
Make more use of what?
Trump oil. Those are a mural that kind of is an illusion of, how would you put it?
It's the French word to fool the eye.
Fool the eye. It's a mural that might look like the side of a building opens into a corridor,
Oh, got
or
it.
it's like there's a garden
Kind of
there
photorealistic,
or something. And I've seen some that are really clever that will actually make use of a building in an area and there's an old one in downtown Clearwater, which side of the building kind of morphs into a train station or something.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, right.
There's I just know, I don't think we've had any of that, have we?
No, and I don't think we've given that
The
direction.
artist event, the one that she was just showing, several of those have that 3D, make you think you're actually walking into
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've never given that direction, but we could. I guess it would just depend on the building and where it was located and if the business owner wanted that, but yeah.
Several people on the art walk class.
You got it.
Beth, if you want to speak, you have to come up.
I just had a thought.
You gotta tell us who you are.
Yeah, tell us who you are all over again. Your name, spell it.
We forgot.
Beth Daniels with the Clearwater Arts Alliance. I was taking a group on the public art walk Saturday before last, or whatever, we're on the second Saturday. And the mural that's the underwater one, it's on the west-facing side of one of the, so it was the next to the last one done, not the floral that she demonstrated to you, but they're underwater with a snorkel mask on, and several people said, I feel like I'm floating in there with her. So it's not exactly what you're talking about, but it gave that effect, and several of the people on the tour commented about how much they enjoyed that, so.
Naomi Haberlin's mural, just
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Asterisk.
it's cool looking.
It's probably my favorite one right now.
That's really
Good
good.
one.
Yeah.
If you've ever been to Nice, France, there's a really, really famous one that's the side of a building. It's an absolutely flat wall, and you think there's all these balconies, and you think there's all these open windows, and, I mean, you walk right up to it and touch it before you realize that it's not, the curtains aren't actually flowing out the window, et cetera. It's very cool, and it's it's half a block long, so
Wow.
it's noticeable.
good
Anything else?
feedback.
Ms. Price, you have anything else for us? I think our meeting can be adjourned. Meeting adjourned.
Good job, Chair.